Hey guys, Lord here, back again with another action figure review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Mythic Legion's Koi. That's literally all it says on the package. Either way, this is brought to us by the fine folks over at Horsemen Studios, and was a Legions Con 2025 table drop. For those of you who went to the show, it was the first time you could get your hands on this guy, but if you've seen the Horsemen since then, you've probably seen him kicking around at, say, ZoloCon, maybe... what was that other one in Atlanta? Toylanta, amidst others. I'm pretty sure the Horsemen went to Toylanta. Please let me know if I'm right about that in the comments. I honestly don't know, because nobody comes to shows up here. You know, when they do have them, upstate New York toy scene. Sorry, I'm pretty salty that my area's toy scene is pretty much non-existent, or flat up sucks. But at any rate, I'm going to tell you that this guy is a very surprising release in the fact that, well, I wasn't expecting much of anything out of this figure, and I think he's really freaking awesome. I did not expect that. I really didn't. I was like, this is going to be a cool figure, hold us over till the Dawns of Discovery. No, he is really freaking cool, and kind of reminds me of a amped up Gill Grunt from Skylanders, Spyro's Adventure, if anyone remembers that game. I mean, if you mash this guy up with the... I forget his name, Oleg Thygar, from the first wave of Cosmic Legions with the armored suit, you pretty much have a Mythic Legion style Gill Grunt on your hands. But side tangents and Lazy Boy custom projects aside, why don't we cut right to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review and take a look see at all Mr. Koi has to offer in terms of accessories, starting off with a pair of open hands. I really like the sculpt on these. They have the webbed fingers going on. Definitely see them repainting this into a merman, or at least giving him a different faceplate maybe to make another character, then repainting it into a merman. Also have a pair of grip hands with the wrong hinge for holding weapons, but they're there nonetheless. We also have a swappable faceplate. He's kind of gritting his teeth a little bit. How you swap this on is actually, the head is not very difficult to take off. And he's built a lot like the snakes. He's got a very long face, long head. All you gotta do is pry this off, pop this one on. This one does not snap on like the other one. There we go. But it does pop right on, and there's a look at the closed mouth. I'll probably use a closed mouth. He's not like your warrior type, despite the fact he does kind of look like it. He's, I think, the navigator of the ship that was introduced in the Dawns of Discovery story arc. Popping that on, you can see he's ready to rock and roll, because he be hardcore like that. And other than that, we do get this sword, which I think we've seen before. I don't think this is new. It's almost pirate looking, so there is that. But if I'm not mistaken, there are a lot of characters that have that already. And then something that's at least new to me is this spear. Now, I'm sure the Thraxian scouts might have had this. Of course, you could pop the end off there. I had to heat up the end on mine so it would pop in all the way. But, no cry, no foul. I got it in all the way. That's what she said. But, very cool spear weapon. It's different from the normal spear we're used to seeing, even though it does have some little prickers on the side, like the spears we're used to seeing. And on top of that, on top of all that, we do get an alternate back fin, which does not have the shoulder pad ports. We turn them around here. You can see he's got shoulder pads plugged in because this fin has some shoulder pad ports. You can also pop this collar on. It doesn't peg into anything, which I kind of wish it did because it's just kind of floaty there, but whatever, it is what it is. It looks like he's just wearing some torso armor maybe. So you can protect his ship from pirates. But yeah, you get an extra fin there, as well as his little tail there, which does have some rotation, believe it or not. So you can do that, kind of pivots on the ball, but not really. And he's got this little jug thing on his side. That was a separate piece as well, but I left it on there. But taking a closer look at him, he looks really cool. Almost reminds me of something Guillermo del Toro would cook up, but that's just me. Would be really cool to see like an Abe Sapien custom out of this guy too, but at any rate, his head can look all over the frickin' place. It's kind of ridiculous. And that's not even utilizing the disc hinge he has, which I think is new for him. I do not believe the Snakes had that, or the Ninian Infantry. Said if we move his pauldron out of the way, his shoulders can raise up about this far. At least that's as far as I'm willing to push it. Push it down, you can rotate forward and back. Single jointed elbow, can bend quite a bit. Swivel at the elbow. Swivel at the gauntlet. Swivel hinge wrists. These ones having the appropriate hinge for holding weapons, which is cool. That said, it looks like his pauldrons have removable pieces on them. If I'm not mistaken, these are the little... These look like the little doodads from, what's his name's pauldrons, but they don't seem to want to pop off very easily. It seems to be just glue. I guess these aren't separate pieces, or they're glued in or something. Very strange, but at any rate, they look like they can come off. I'm not going to screw with that. I already popped the glue a little bit on both sides. Maybe a little bit more on one side than the other, but at any rate, he does have a ball joint in the waist that can lean back that far, kind of hindered by his fin, but he can lean forward quite a bit. He can tilt a little bit as well as rotate. It's all nice and tight because he's got a lot of stuff going on down here. He's got a little loop-de-loop for his sword, and then he does have the little jug up, whatever this is, over here. Other than that, though, he does have some soft goods, which feel fine. I didn't notice any busted wires in there. I think we might be moving past like the whole broken wire thing. You know what? I'm gonna knock on wood. Hope that's true. Because if you remember my Rising Suns wave reviews, my Manisha Cinderhorn had a wire fall out of her skirt, but it wasn't broken. It poked through the material and then, you know, fell out. It was never broken. That said, as far as articulation of the legs go, you can kick forward and back pretty well. Kick out, down. He's got a thigh cut. He's got a single joint at the knee, not too loose there. Swivel below the knee, but also a swivel at the boot and a swivel at the foot. So he's got like triple lower leg articulation. If you can't pose this guy, you're doing something wrong. And then he has a rocker with a hinge in the foot. And peg holes, I think, at the bottom of the feet somewhere. This one's got one. So, yeah, Koi is freaking awesome. I think this figure's sick. He is a fish man, after all. I like those, but he is very, very nice. He feels very, very nice. You know, he's tight, but he doesn't feel like, oh, I need to heat all this stuff to actually enjoy the figure. It just feels like he's ready to rock out of the box, and that's how it should be. Toth, I'm looking at you. With your loose joints and such, but, you know, to his credit, could just be a one-off. And he had soft goods that weren't too bad either. So, with that being said, I think it is time now that we gear this guy up. Take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here's good old Koi, alongside a couple other Legions Con table drops. We have the 2024 Legions Con table drop, the Ninian Infantry, the old Snake Man, probably one of the best Snake Man action figures to come out in recent memory. That said, we also have another Legions Con table drop from the calendar year 2025, that of course being the Figura Obscura Gods of Ancient Egypt Thoth, who we did take a look at yesterday, so please check that review out if you haven't already. Would really appreciate it if you did, and the main reason he is here is A, so I could plug the review, shamelessly of course, and B, he was a Legions Con table drop, much like Koi here. There was one more Legions Con table drop from 2023, was it? That, of course, being the Valiant Knight, but I don't have him handy. Mine's in pieces right now because I'm currently working on a custom, so forgive me for that. I'm getting these two out of the way, however. Of course, we do have a review of this guy up here on the channel, so check that out if you haven't already. Again, would really appreciate it if you did. And shout out to my buddy Patrick from the Mythic Legions Cabal for the hookup on that very figure as well. But bringing in our two regulars, we got Brother Mandibilith and the infamous 11 Spawn. If we don't count his fin mohawk, he's actually still pretty tall, but just enough to make good old Al Simmons not tower over everyone, at least not today. So, with that being said, I think it is time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and out of everything I got during the most recent in-stock sale from the fine folks over at Four Horsemen Studios, I gotta be honest in telling you that while I had relatively low expectations for good old Koi here, he ended up being one of my most favorite things I got. He is really freaking cool, and that makes me excited for the Dawns of Discovery wave, because we're probably not going to see that for a while unless we get, you know, breadcrumbs of various fish fellows and whatnot throughout the years leading up to that. But if this is what we have to look forward to when it comes to that wave, I am all here for it. This guy is awesome. I'm glad I got him, and I can't wait to get more. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.